Help me? The desperate cry echoed through Jefferson High's hallway as two bullies lifted Emma Chen's wheelchair and hurled it down the marble staircase. Metal crashed against stone, wheels spinning uselessly as the chair tumbled and shattered. Emma sat helpless on the floor, tears streaming down her face, watching her only means of independence destroyed. The bullies, Tyler Kane and his psychic Brett, stood laughing, high-fiving over their cruelty. But they didn't notice the tall figure in the expensive suit who had just rounded the corner, briefcase in hand, visiting his daughter's school. And they had no idea that the quiet girl they just destroyed wasn't just any student. She was about to become the reason their entire world came crashing down. Jefferson High sat in the wealthy district of Riverside, where privilege wore designer labels and cruelty hid behind charitable galas. The school's gleaming facade promised excellence, but inside its halls, a different hierarchy ruled. Emma Chun, 16 and paralyzed from a car accident 2 years ago, navigated this world from her wheelchair, invisible to most, a target to others. Her mother, Lin Chun, worked double shifts as a hospital custodian to afford the modest apartment across town. The scholarship that got Emma into Jefferson was supposed to be their ticket to a better future. Instead, it became a daily battlefield. Emma kept her head down, did her work, and tried to avoid Tyler Kane, the quarterback whose father owned half the commercial real estate in the city. Tyler ruled Jefferson High with casual cruelty, and Emma's existence offended him simply by being different. That morning started like any other. Emma rolled through the entrance, backpack balanced on her lap, earbuds blocking out the world. She made it to her locker without incident, a small victory. But as she reached for a combination lock, a foot kicked the wheel, spinning her chair sideways. "Morning wheels," Tyler sneered, blocking her path. Brett stood behind him, recording on his phone. "We've got a bet going. Think you can make it down the stairs without that fancy ride?" Emma's stomach dropped. "Please, just let me go to class." "Please, just let me go," Tyler mocked in a high-pitched voice. "What's wrong, wheels? Can't take a joke?" He grabbed the handles of her wheelchair. Emma tried to grip the wheels, but Tyler was stronger. He pushed her toward the main staircase, where students were gathering, sensing entertainment. "Tyler, stop." Emma's voice cracked with genuine fear. "My chair, it's the only one I have." "Then maybe you should have stayed home," Tyler said. With Brett's help, they lifted Emma out of her chair. She fell to the marble floor, skinning her palms, her legs useless beneath her. Before she could process what was happening, Tyler and Brett grabbed her wheelchair. "Let's see if it flies," Tyler shouted. The crowd gasped as they hurled the wheelchair down the staircase. The sound was horrific, metal screaming against stone, components shattering, wheels bouncing and cracking. The chair tumbled end over end until it lay at the bottom, a twisted wreck of bent metal and torn fabric. "Help me?" Emma sobbed from the floor. "Someone, please." But the crowd just stared. Some filmed. Others looked away, ashamed but silent. No one moved. Tyler and Brett were laughing, congratulating each other, when a deep voice cut through the chaos. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" The laughter died. Tyler turned to see a man in his late 40s, tall and commanding, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Tyler's car. His expression was carved from ice, dark eyes blazing with controlled fury. "Who are you?" Tyler tried to sound tough, but his voice wavered. "Security's going to kick you out." "I'm sure they'll try," the man said coldly, pulling out his phone. "After I'm done with you." He knelt beside Emma, voice softening. "Are you hurt? Can you move?" Emma shook her head, tears streaming. "My chair. That's my only chair. My mom saved for months." "Don't worry about the chair," he said gently. "We'll handle that. Right now, I need to know if you're injured." "Just my hands," Emma whispered, showing scraped palms. The man stood, turning back to Tyler and Brett. The temperature in the hallway seemed to drop. "Do you know who I am?" Tyler crossed his arms, trying to recover his bravado. "Some random business guy? My dad knows everyone important in this city." "You're nobody." "Your dad," the man said softly, dangerously, "works for me." The color drained from Tyler's face. "What?" My name is David Zhang. I own Zhang Enterprises. Your father, Robert Kane, manages one of my property portfolios. And you just assaulted a student in front of dozens of witnesses while I was here for a scheduled school board meeting. David pulled out his phone, speaking clearly. Security, this is David Zhang. I need you in the main hall immediately. We have an assault in progress. Also, call the police. I want charges filed. Tyler's bravado shattered. Wait, no, it was just a joke. We were messing around. You destroyed her only wheelchair, David said, voice like steel. You left her on the floor, begging for help, while you laughed. That's not a joke. That's assault, destruction of medical equipment, and about 5 other charges I'm going to make sure stick. Brett was already backing away. Tyler, man, I gotta go. Stay right there, David commanded. Brett froze. You're both going to wait for the police, and you're going to explain to them why you thought destroying someone's wheelchair was funny. Principal Harrison rushed into the hallway, face flushed. Mr. Zhang, I heard there was a disturbance. Disturbance? David's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. 2 of your students just committed assault and destroyed medical equipment belonging to a disabled student, on camera, with witnesses, while I was visiting for a board meeting about your school's accessibility programs. Harrison went pale. I will handle this internally. No, David said flatly. You won't. The police are coming. These boys will be arrested. And then we're going to have a very long conversation about how your school allows this kind of behavior. Emma watched from the floor, hardly able to process what was happening. This stranger, this powerful man, was defending her when no one else would. David turned to the crowd of students. All of you filming, I want copies of that footage sent to the police. Anyone who witnessed this, I need you to stay and give statements. This ends today. A teacher finally pushed through the crowd, running to Emma. Oh my God, Emma, are you okay? Now you show up, David said coldly. Where were you when she needed help? The teacher had no answer. Security arrived first, then the police. Tyler tried to run, but an officer caught him before he reached the exit. Brett was crying, begging his parents on the phone. David stayed with Emma the entire time, kneeling beside her, speaking quietly. My daughter, Sophie, goes to this school. She told me about you, said you were the smartest person in AP chemistry, but that some students made your life difficult. When I scheduled today's meeting, I asked to walk the halls during class change. I wanted to see the environment for myself. Emma wiped her eyes. Your daughter knows me? She says you helped her understand organic chemistry when she was failing. She wanted to be friends, but she was afraid the popular kids would target her too. David's expression hardened. That's going to change. All of it. The police took statements from Emma, David, and a dozen witnesses. Tyler and Brett were handcuffed and led away, both crying now, their parents arriving in expensive cars, shouting about lawyers. David made several phone calls. First to his assistant. I need a top-of-the-line custom wheelchair delivered to Jefferson High within 2 hours. Spare no expense. Then to his legal team. I want full prosecution. No plea deals. These kids need to learn consequences. Finally to Tyler's father. Robert, you're fired. Clean out your desk by end of business today. And if you try to retaliate against the Chin family, I will destroy you financially and legally. Emma heard that last call. Mr. Zhang, you don't have to. Yes, I do, he said firmly. Men like Robert Kane raise sons like Tyler because they never face consequences. That stops now. An ambulance arrived to check Emma's injuries. David rode with her to the hospital, calling her mother to explain everything. Lynch arrived panicked, but David assured her Emma was fine and that everything would be taken care of. Mrs. Chun, I'm David Zhang. I witnessed what happened to your daughter. I want you to know that I'm personally ensuring those boys are prosecuted fully. Lin Chen bowed slightly, overwhelmed. Thank you, Mr. Zhang. Emma is everything to me. She's remarkable. David said, my daughter speaks very highly of her. I'd like to discuss something with both of you. At the hospital, after Emma was cleared, just bruised and scraped, David explained his proposal. Jefferson High clearly has a culture problem. I'm on the school board, and I'm going to change that. But I also want to offer something more personal. He pulled out a business card. My company has an internship program for exceptional students. Emma, your teachers say you're gifted in chemistry and mathematics. I'd like to offer you a paid internship in our pharmaceutical research division. We're developing accessibility technologies, and I think your perspective will be invaluable. Emma stared at the card, barely able to process it. I'm just a high school student. You're a survivor, David corrected. You're brilliant, and you deserve opportunities, not cruelty. The new wheelchair arrived that afternoon, top of the line, customized, with features Emma had only dreamed about. Lightweight carbon fiber, smart controls, all-terrain wheels. David had included a tablet mounted on the arm with direct access to his company's research databases. For your internship, he explained, you start next month if you accept. Over the following weeks, everything changed. Tyler and Brett were charged with assault, destruction of property, and disability-based hate crimes. Their lawyers tried to make it go away, but David's legal team was relentless. The footage went viral, sparking outrage. Both boys were convicted, sentenced to juvenile detention, and hundreds of hours of community service working with disability advocacy groups. Tyler's father, Robert Kane, tried to sue David for wrongful termination. The case was thrown out when evidence emerged that Robert had been embezzling funds for years. He ended up facing his own criminal charges. At Jefferson High, Principal Harrison was forced to resign. A new principal was appointed, a woman with a background in disability rights education. The school implemented strict anti-bullying policies, mandatory sensitivity training, and hired a full-time accessibility coordinator. David John became a regular presence at the school, attending board meetings and challenging every policy that failed to protect vulnerable students. His daughter Sophie finally approached Emma in chemistry class. I should have spoken up before. I was scared. I'm sorry. Emma smiled. Help me speak up now. We can make things better for everyone. They became close friends, studying together, advocating together. Emma's internship at Jong Enterprises opened doors she'd never imagined. She worked with engineers developing next-generation wheelchair technology, her insights shaping products that would help millions. David became a mentor and eventually a family friend. He helped Lin Chin find better employment at his corporate headquarters, with benefits and stability she'd never had. 1 year later, at Jefferson High's academic award ceremony, Emma stood at the podium. Rolled to the podium to accept the school's highest honor for science achievement. The auditorium was packed. David sat in the front row with his family, beaming with pride. A year ago, Emma began, voice steady, I was humiliated, hurt, and left helpless on the floor of the school. I thought no one cared. I thought I didn't matter. She paused, finding David's eyes. But someone did care. Someone stood up when everyone else looked away. Mr. Zhang didn't just save me that day. He showed me that one person with courage can change everything. The applause was thunderous. I learned that disabilities don't define us. Cruelty doesn't win. And kindness, real action-backed kindness, can literally change lives. To anyone being bullied, being hurt, being told they don't belong, hold on, help is coming. Sometimes it arrives in unexpected forms. After the ceremony, David approached with his wife and Sophie. Proud of you, kiddo, he said, using the nickname he'd adopted. You've come so far. Because you gave me a chance, Emma replied. No, David corrected gently. I just made sure you got the chance you always deserved. You did the rest. Emma went on to attend MIT on a full scholarship, majoring in biomedical engineering. She graduated top of her class, then returned to work full-time at Jong Enterprises, leading their accessibility technology division. She designed revolutionary wheelchairs, prosthetics, and adaptive devices used worldwide. Years later, Emma established a stand-up foundation, funding anti-bullying programs and providing mobility devices to those who couldn't afford them. At the foundation's launch, David stood beside her, now a close family friend. You've helped thousands of people, he said quietly, changed countless lives. Emma smiled. I learned from the best. You taught me that power isn't about what you have. It's about what you do with it. You use yours to protect someone who couldn't protect herself. That's real strength. And you, David replied, took that second chance and built an empire of hope. Your mother would be so proud. Lin Chun, now retired and volunteering at the foundation, joined them. My daughter, the hero, she said, voice thick with emotion. Who saved who? Emma laughed, hugging her mother. We all saved each other. In the end, Tyler and Brett took very different paths. Tyler, after serving his time and completing years of therapy and community service, reached out to Emma. The letter was hesitant, ashamed. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know that destroying your wheelchair was the worst thing I ever did, and the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to see what I'd become. I've spent every day since trying to be better. Working with disability advocacy groups changed my life. I'll never undo what I did, but I'm trying to make sure no one else suffers like you did. Thank you for surviving me. Emma read the letter twice, then filed it away. She didn't respond immediately, needing time to process. Months later, she sent a brief reply. I hope you mean it. Prove it with your life, not your words. Tyler did. He became a special education teacher, working with disabled students, advocating fiercely for accessibility and inclusion. He never made excuses for his past. When students asked about the scar on his record, he told them the truth. I was a monster. I hurt someone who didn't deserve it. And I'm spending my life making sure kids like me learn better. Brett took longer to change. He struggled with addiction, failed out of college, hit bottom hard. But eventually, with support and accountability, he found his way to recovery. He worked construction, installing wheelchair ramps and accessibility features in homes and schools, making sure no one faced the barriers Emma once had. One day at a foundation event, Brett approached Emma hesitantly. I don't expect you to forgive me, he said quietly, but I needed you to see that I'm different now. That what I did, it haunts me every day. Emma studied him, seeing genuine remorse in his eyes. Actions matter more than apologies. Keep doing the work. Keep being better. I will, Brett promised, every day. David John, now in his 60s, stepped back from day-to-day operations at his company to focus on philanthropy. His partnership with Emma's foundation became his legacy project. You know, he told Emma at a fundraiser, my daughter told me about you before I ever saw those boys hurt you. She said you were the kindest person at Jefferson High, that even when people were cruel, you never returned it. Emma smiled. I learned that from my mom. She always said suffering doesn't give you the right to cause more suffering. Wise woman, David agreed, but kindness isn't weakness. That's what people like Tyler never understood. True strength is using power to protect, not punish. You taught me that, Emma said. When you stood up for me, you showed me what real power looks like. David shook his head. I just did what was right. You're the one who turned trauma into transformation. At 50, Emma was invited to speak at a TED Talk about disability rights, bullying, and resilience. She rolled onto the stage in the wheelchair David had given her decades ago, still perfectly maintained. This wheelchair, she began, holding up the armrest, was a gift from a stranger who became family, a man who saw a girl being destroyed and decided that wouldn't be her ending. The audience was silent, captivated. I want to talk about the moment everything changed. Not when my chair was destroyed. That was the moment everything broke. The change came when someone with power chose to use it for good. When David Jong stood up for me, he didn't just save my wheelchair. He saved my belief that good people exist. She told the story, the bullying, the destruction, David's intervention, the aftermath. Tyler and Brett thought they could crush me because I was different, vulnerable, easy prey. They didn't expect consequences because they'd never faced any. Emma's voice grew stronger. But here's what they didn't know. Disability doesn't make you weak. It makes you resilient. And when someone extends real help, not pity, but genuine support, you become unstoppable. She shared her journey. MIT, Zhang Enterprises, the foundation, the thousands of lives touched. I get messages every week from people who say my work changed their lives. And I think about that moment in the hallway when I screamed for help and no one came. Her eyes found David in the audience. Except one person did. One person who didn't know me anything, but chose to act. That's all it takes to change the world. One person who stands up, one person who says this ends now, one person who uses their voice, their power, their privilege to protect those who need it. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. Afterward, David hugged Emma tightly. "You did good, kiddo. Your mom will be so proud." Lynchen had passed away 2 years earlier, peacefully, surrounded by family. Emma and the Zhongs, who she'd adopted as her own. Emma missed her every day. "She knew," Emma said quietly. "Before she died, she told me that the accident that paralyzed me wasn't the worst thing that happened to us. She said meeting you was what balanced the scales, that you gave us back more than we lost." David's eyes filled with tears. "Your mother gave me purpose. Watching you grow, helping you succeed, that's been my greatest achievement. Not the company, not the money. You." They stood together, surrounded by foundation staff, supporters, and the people whose lives have been changed by Emma's work. Outside, a banner read, "Stand Up Foundation, because everyone deserves someone to stand up for them." Emma thought about that day in the hallway, the fear and helplessness, the sound of her wheelchair being destroyed. She thought about Tyler and Brett, about forgiveness and consequences, about the long road from victim to survivor to advocate. But mostly she thought about David Zhang, the stranger who became family, who showed her that power combined with compassion could change everything. "Help me," she cried that day. And someone finally did. That one moment, one person choosing to act when everyone else stayed silent, created ripples that spread across decades and thousands of lives. Because real help isn't just about solving immediate problems. It's about empowering people to solve their own problems, then help others do the same. Emma Chin learned that lesson in a hallway at Jefferson High, taught by a billionaire CEO who saw past wealth and status to the simple truth: every person deserves dignity, protection, and a chance to become who they're meant to be. Years later, at David's retirement party, Emma gave a speech. This man didn't have to stop that day. He could have walked past, like everyone else. But he didn't, because that's not who he is. He taught me that true leadership is about being the richest or most powerful. It's about using whatever you have, money, influence, voice, presence, to protect those who can't protect themselves. She raised her glass. To David Zhang, the man who stood behind Bullies and stopped them. The man who gave me not just a wheelchair, but a future. The man who proved that one person really can change the world. The room erupted in applause. David, eyes shining, hugged Emma. "You changed my world too, kiddo. Never forget that." As guests mingled and celebrated, Emma rolled to the window, looking out at the city lights. She thought about all the people out there facing their own battles, feeling alone and helpless. She thought about the work still to be done, the lives still to be changed. Tomorrow, she'd return to the foundation, continue designing better accessibility technology, keep fighting for those who needed someone to stand up. But tonight, she let herself feel grateful. Grateful for survival. Grateful for second chances. Grateful for strangers who become family. Grateful that when she cried for help in her darkest moment, someone finally heard. Someone finally came. And that changed absolutely everything.